Hi everybody, welcome to today's reading. Yes, I have a bit of a lurgy at the moment. If you think my voice sounds a little bit funny, that is because I have a blocked nose and I am working through what that means for me. But Spirit says today that they wanted to talk to you about a situation where you've been sort of blocking people out or pushing people out of your life because they're kind of annoying you or they've stepped on your toes in some way. But in that process, you're now starting to feel a bit regretful and responsible for what has happened, right? But the solution to that is just not as easy as being aware of it. Okay, sorry to say, peeps, but Spirit suggests the hardest route. And unless you've done this, you won't really know how that feels, right? The hardest route is forgiving them or forgiving yourself. Okay, forgiveness is easy when you both sit down, you have a talk, and you sort of, come to a common ground and you accept each other's perspectives and you work it out. That part of forgiving someone is kind of nice and it is important, not denouncing it at all, but it's actually a lot easier than what Spirit is suggesting at the moment. Forgiveness, in this particular instance, is where it's one-sided and you're the one side. So the other side is not involved. You know that you're never going to actually be able to sit down and go, okay, well, we've worked it out and we are able to understand each other's perspectives. That's not going to happen. So that's the hardest bit, because this sort of, when Spirit says work from an unconditional love, heart-centered perspective, that sounds really cool and easy, right? Until such a situation arises and it's time for you to forgive yourself for what has happened and you're part of it, and also understand the other, where they have come from. And you don't have to go to them and say, hey mate, I forgive you. That would be so random and so provoking, I feel I want to say. So Spirit is saying it's a one-sided activity that is significant for your own personal growth. It's accepting that I'm not better than them. They're not better than me. I just need to move through this because I don't want to live in that tight space where I have regrets. Right? I regret that I behaved that way. I regret that they behave that way. I regret that I'm involved. Whatever the regret is, right? So there's nothing about this that you can avoid apart from some deep recognition of yourself, and realize that as you do that, you are expanding as a person. This experience has come into your life not for you to fix, and that might be a bit of a surprise for you because you've always thought, well, I'm always trying to make people be happy. I'm always trying to work it through. I'm always trying to make sure I'm happy. Spirit's like, this is one of those moments where you've got to go over the bump of the road by yourself. Okay. So that's a bit to ponder on there, peeps. See how you go with it. I'm here for you. All right, you know the deal. I'm going to pick 3 cards. The left, the right, and the middle. You pick one of those cards, or you can take all 3, whatever tickles your fancy. Lefties. Yeah, see, the fact of the matter is that you've got this. You're actually a really nice person. You're working with Spirit. You work really well with the majority of people. You're on point, 95% of the time. You're probably 99% of the time. So this one time when you're like wanting to be really cranky with yourself, it's completely unnecessary. So Spirit is saying, as you step into the space of self-forgiveness or forgiving of other with a one-sided forgiveness, other people will notice your integrity. And you will notice your integrity, and that will feel really great. Okay, righties. What do we got? So Spirit says you're worried about the detail. When you get caught up in the detail, then how can you ever forgive? Because you're always going to be like, yeah, but what about that? Yeah, but what about that? Yeah, bugger him, But Spirit's like, you're in the detail, bro. And the detail is just not worthy of getting hung up and cranky and upset and, whatever it is, eating untold fatty food to make yourself feel better, or drinking too much to make yourself feel better, or whatever it is. Spirit is saying it's your responsibility to make a move, and there's nothing for you to worry about. In this picture, she's running away from the ghost. Ghosts do not exist in graveyards, very rarely. Let's just think about it for a moment. When I die, I choose to hang around a paddock with a whole lot of rotting bones and bodies and stones in it. No, nobody ever picked that as their afterlife experience. So that's not happening. So Spirit is saying there's nothing for you to worry about. There's nothing for you to stress about. It's about a growth experience for you, which is going to be really great because next week we're heading into the beginning of Mercury retrograde. So let's get this done and dusted before we head into that. Otherwise, you're going to be hung up on the hook with it. All right, middle card. There you are. You're free. When you forgive others, then there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of like, actually, I'm okay. It's like letting that energy that's stuck in you, that kind of anger, that kind of pissed offiness. It's not a word, but let's make it one. Um, the people that piss you off, and rightly so that you should be pissed off, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's good to sit in that space because it just pulls you into the vortex of Shatola. Okay, so Spirit is inviting you to recognize that life is about relationships and how you engage with yourself. That's a relationship, and how you engage with others. Stand proud because Spirit wants to remind you that you are a beautiful soul who has many talents. What are you doing with them? Because you don't want to waste them. You don't want to get to your deathbed going, I could have done that, but that happened, and so then I didn't, and I just ate too much and got obese and didn't do anything. Well, not that that's what causes obesity. That was a little bit silly and a little bit rude, to be fair. So who isn't carrying a little bit of weight? Don't tell me. Okay. All right. And on that note, have a wonderful day taking care of you and pondering what Spirit is suggesting for you today. All right. Have a great day.